Two federal judges handed down conflicting rulings that's causing confusion about a commonly used abortion pill. It could be pulled off the shelf by Friday unless the courts issue a stay preventing a judge order from taking effect. Nicole D'Antonio has the latest.
The Department of Justice has filed an appeal against a conservative federal judge's ruling which suspends FDA approval for the abortion pill mifepristone. Writing, if allowed to take effect, the court's order would thwart FDA's scientific judgment and severely harm women, particularly those for whom mifepristone is a medical or practical necessity.
If the decision stands, it will put women's health at risk and undermine the FDA's ability to ensure patients have access to safe and effective medications when they need them the most.
Texas Judge Matthew Kaczmarek, a Trump appointee, ruled on Friday that the FDA improperly approved mifepristone 23 years ago, saying it ignored legitimate safety concerns about the drug.
We think that the judge totally got it right. The FDA has to go back. It has to be transparent with the public about the studies that it relied on to make its decisions, and it's got to follow the science.
Mifepristone is one of the safest and most effective medicines that we've seen over the last 20 years to help women with their health care, especially abortion care.
A federal judge in Washington state appointed by Obama blocked any changes to mifepristone's availability to the public in 17 states and the District of Columbia, where Democrats sued. The cases are likely headed to the Supreme Court, where the conservative majority may decide the case.
This administration stands by the FDA and is prepared for this legal fight.
Protests broke out over the weekend following the court's ruling.
This should not be normalized. This should outrage you.
Showing that abortion rights will likely remain very important to voters in next year's presidential election. Nicole D'Antonio, CBS News, the Supreme Court.
Now, earlier tonight, our Terrence Friday sat down with Oakland County Prosecutor Karen McDonald to break down what this ruling means and if it could have any impact here at home in Michigan.
So first, what is your reaction to this ruling?
Frustration. The voters in Michigan have already spoken, and it is now our constitutional right. And that is part of our Constitution, and so it's frustrating that we are now once again facing an attempt to limit what the voters have said they want. But I just want to make clear that, once again, the people in Michigan should know abortion is safe and legal in Michigan. This could impact the availability of drug used, but it is legal in Michigan.
Well, that leads me to my next topic about you saying that it is safe. A lot of people having concerns with this medication specifically. Can you speak at all on how it's used and the fact that doctors keep reiterating the fact that they say it's safe?
Well, it's been used for over 20 years and prescribed to millions and millions of people. And the thing that is really frustrating to me and really concerning is that over half the abortions are conducted through their medical, and they don't require procedures. And that allows a early abortion to take place so that it's less, it's more safe. We don't have to have people coming in and undergoing medical procedures. And the attempt to stand in the place of a federal agency who makes decisions based on science and medical expertise is really unconscionable in my mind. And again, we've spoken. The voters in Michigan have spoken, and abortion is legal here. It is restricted. There are limits to that, like everything else.
So we know the FDA made a decision about this a while ago. Why do you think we're seeing this ruling now from these federal judges?
I couldn't possibly put myself in the place of those that are attempting to interfere with a woman's medical decision that she makes with her partner or her doctor. She's entitled to that privacy. But look, I don't think the battle is over, and I think we need to remain vigilant. And I want to say too, the reason I care about this, I mean, I'm a woman, and I believe in my right to make reproductive choices, but I'm also the highest law enforcement official in a county of 1.3 million people where we have an all-time high in gun violence. We just had another mass shooting. We have more guns on the street than ever before, and more importantly, we have people in crisis who are picking them up and using them. And I believe, based on the presence of serious violent crime, that it's my job to use our resources wisely, and it will never be to prosecute doctors for making decisions based on their training and expertise.
You say the battle's not over. Do you see this changing course at any point? Where do you see this going now?
Absolutely. I think that this is one step of many, and that it will be further attempted to limit the other drug that is used in combination with this drug. You know, I spend my time talking to medical professionals and women who have been in terrible circumstances, and all this really does is insert instability and uncertainty, which really does already impact our right.
In terms of Michigan specifically, how do you see this impacting our area?
Well, again, no one's going to ever be prosecuted as long as I'm the prosecutor in Oakland County, and it is the law now. But what you're going to see is, if the ban is not lifted, these medical professionals will have to use other means to provide safe, and again, this is early abortion care, and it's really just making people less safe, because now they're going to be, they have to resort to a medical procedure. But I think you're going to see a shift for sure.
Obviously, a lot of people feel very strongly on both sides of this issue. For people who are applauding this decision, any message to them?
History has taught us that abortions will occur regardless of what the law is. And what I don't want to see is a further criminalization of those sorts of procedures in care, and making it impossible for people without means to get reproductive health care. But it will take place. And again, there are limits to it. Just like every right we have, there are limits to it. And if you look across the country and you look at the Prop 3 vote in Michigan, you know, the voters have spoken, and people want reasoned, rational laws that apply to make us safe, but also protect our basic constitutional rights.
We continue this conversation now. Joining us is attorney and activist Rebecca Kiessling, who opposes the right to an abortion. We've heard from Karen McDonald. You've heard the rulings. What is your initial reaction?
Okay, well, first of all, in the Texas case, the group of physicians who sued rightfully pointed out how the whole process for approval of the abortion pill was pushed through under the Clinton administration. And it was used in the same way they have exceptions made for the normal protocol for epidemics. Pregnancy is not a disease, and women deserve to have had proper trials on this drug and a proper approval process. In the second case in Washington, it's interesting that out of the 17 states that sued, California and New York are not included. They're looking not to have this be a doctor's decision, but to take doctors out of the process. They don't want women to be required, as is currently the law, to be required to acknowledge the risks, to sign a form acknowledging the risks. Why don't they want women to know what the risks are? What are they hiding from women? And then they don't want doctors to have to be certified to be able to determine how far along a pregnancy is. That's important. That's critical when it comes to this pill, because you're only supposed to do it up to 10 weeks. And the doctors right now are required to be certified to determine whether there's an ectopic pregnancy. Again, you care about women's health. Why don't you want doctors involved to make sure a woman's going to be safe? And so why are they trying to take away informed consent? Why are they trying to take away doctors? And they also want to take away doctors having to certify that they can provide follow-up care. They want it available through the mail. They don't want there to be a local doctor to provide follow-up care when there are complications, which happen.
What would you like to see happen going forward here with this whole situation?
Well, I'll tell you what's going to happen. It's going to go up to the Court of Appeals. The Biden administration in the Texas case, I'm sure, will file an appeal. So the stay won't go into effect in the Texas case unless the Biden administration doesn't file an appeal by Friday, and they will. And so eventually it's going to make its way up through probably some more conflicting circuit court of appeals in the federal courts, and eventually it will make it up to the U.S. Supreme Court, and they'll have to make a determination. I think it should go back for proper trials with the FDA. People should know the risks. It should all be transparent.
So you're not 100% opposed to this pill, or where do you stand with this?
I am opposed to abortion. I was almost aborted. I owe my birth to the law which protected me. I don't think that pregnancy is a disease, and I don't think that women should have to be afraid of a baby.
One of the situations, you know, you can talk about, is it's brought up a lot, is a rape case or a situation where the baby is not 100% healthy and the parents make a very difficult decision. So where do you stand on that? Because sometimes it's not a black and white issue when you're talking about this subject.
Okay. Well, I was conceived in rape. And as you know, our governor just signed the law repealing the 1931 law which protected me back when I was born in 1969. And black and white is the fact that Governor Whitmer says I don't deserve to live, that people like me should die.
Well, I think what she's saying is that it's the right to the mother, the person's individual right, meaning you should not be telling me or my family how I should go about life, or telling somebody else. And I think that's really the essence of what I hear from her.
I understand that, but my birth mother's choice was to abort me. She tried to kill me at 2 illegal abortions and backed out because of the law that protected me. The law shapes morality, and I owe my birth to the law that protected me. It wasn't about choice, because her choice was abortion. It was that the government protected me, and I deserve to be alive. You know, I'm just as worthy of love and life as you or anyone else.
When you look at this pill, what it does, sometimes doctors prescribe it during a case of a miscarriage, when a woman's going through a difficult time. So do you see circumstances where, again, this issue is not always black and white for people, that you understand the benefits at times for this pill?
Well, when a woman's going through a miscarriage, and I've suffered a couple of miscarriages, when it's necessary, a woman, usually it's an emergency situation, needs to go into the hospital for a DNC. Right now, the Democrats, in the 17 states that sued, they want to take away, again, having a doctor involved to make sure that you're safe, to make sure that they got everything after the miscarriage. You know, if you don't have a complete miscarriage, then, you know, parts of the baby could be left behind. This is sometimes what happens even with the pill. And you need to have follow-up treatment. You need to be able to make sure that you can get in, get an ultrasound, and make sure that you're not going to become septic, you know, that you're not going to die from an infection. I have friends who got infections after taking the abortion pill and could have died if they weren't able to get into a hospital who could help them right away.
Last question I'll ask for you. What do you say to someone that says, look, you or anyone else should not tell me how I should handle my own body and how I should go about life? What is your response when somebody says that?
Well, most people will say, I don't like abortion. Oh, I personally would never have an abortion. Well, why not? What's wrong with it? And if people are honest, they'll answer, well, it's just that I believe that it's taking a human life. I mean, what does abortion do? It ends the life of a living human being. And I think that there's some cognitive dissonance going on in our country. There's women who go into abortion clinics not liking abortion, bleeding, crying when they're leaving, but they have it anyway. And I feel like that's a failure on women. I don't think women should have to choose between a career, college, and a baby. I believe in educating and empowering women. I'm a feminist. I believe that women shouldn't have to choose. And you know, whatever happened to I am woman, hear me roar, that, you know, you can have it all. And I don't think women should have to be afraid of a baby.
Well, Rebecca, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Obviously, this is a discussion that is not going anywhere and a debate that is not going anywhere anytime soon. Thank you so much for joining us in studio tonight. We'll have more after the break, including top headlines from around the world, plus Ahmed has your forecast when we return.